Okay, hello guys, welcome to this session of Azure Power Lunch. This session is recorded and the recording will be placed on YouTube channel. If you are not comfortable with that, please feel free to drop off now. And also this session is attended by Microsoft employees as also as partners and guests. So welcome everybody. Looking for F5 on my keyboard. Okay. So today's session is about Azure Form Recognizer. My name is Ala Tadmouri. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. Let's look at the agenda. We'll look at overview of Azure Applied AI Services. Just very quickly what they are. This is a new family of products. So let's define it quickly. Form Recognizer is a product of this family. So then we'll define Form Recognizer, then we'll look at the demo. I'll try to follow Naveed's footsteps on making the slides thin, so to focus on the demo. So let's try to do that. If you have any questions, please feel free to come off mute. So Azure Applied AI Services. This is a task-specific AI products. They are built on top of Azure Cognitive Services. As like last year, we had cognitive services, things like Lewis, and previously demoed Lewis here on these sessions. So this applied AI services are more specific to a specific task. They resolve one specific business use case. So they build on top of Azure Cognitive Services, and as you know, cognitive services built on top of Azure AI. So a typical use case for Azure Form Recognizer is where you submit receipts for this service to extract a text. So supposedly you could have, like, you know, your receipts on a blob storage, and a function app is triggered each time there is a receipt dropped on the blob, and this function triggers this Azure Recognizer or Form Recognizer, which I'm going to show you now, the service, in which case it reads these receipts and stores the result in some ERP system, or probably runs some analysis. This is a very common use case. So as we mentioned, Form Recognizer is where a service where you submit your receipts, forms, and it extracts them in the JSON format, key value pairs, or tables. So you could see here, like, for example, an example receipt built to Contoso. It will show you here a key value pair built to Contoso. Just at the first sight, this is normal, what you would expect from a form recognizer, but what is the difference between this and good old OCR? For that, just imagine a solution or a situation where you have something like this. You know, in many receipts, you get online that the print of the value not necessarily is in line with the key where it's supposed to be. So on typical traditional OCR, what you would notice if you read this, if you submit this for an OCR service, this Contoso will appear first, then build 2 will appear next. Versus here, you would depend on the form recognizer to recognize that this is the value to this key. So there's, as you could see, Form Recognizer is really a layer on top of OCR. So OCR, of course, there is an OCR that's happening here, but there is more for Form Recognizer, because there's a stages of parsing the document to be able to distinguish not only just reading the text from an image, but also understanding the relationships between the values on the page. You could imagine forms that are like really complicated. Imagine DMV form, for example, when they put like all kind of like fields, not symmetrical on the page. You could depend on Form Recognizer to distinguish these patterns. And if it doesn't out of the box, you could train it for custom forms. I'll show you that in the tool to be able to do that. So this, I think, an important thing to know about the difference, or what makes Form Recognizer a special service, a part of the AI family. Forms don't have to be receipts. So today I'm going to demo a receipt. We'll see how it would analyze it, but it doesn't have to be. It could be like as many already like there are already models for many other form formats. Again, remember key value pair and tables. This is where it shines. It's able to extract key value pairs and tables from forms. And now I'm gonna show you a demo first, and a tool that's built into that you could use, and then I'll show you a code sample. Before that, if there's any questions up till now, please feel free to ask. Okay, so Microsoft has this tool that allows you to upload a receipt to and analyze it, and also it allows you to train if you have a custom form that's not a receipt, that doesn't fit in the predefined formats. You could train your own like custom form. You could, I'll show you that. Let me show you that quickly. You could do like a new project here. You give it the path to where the files are, and these files means your custom forms. So let's say you give it to a path to a blob storage here in the URI, and then what you would imagine I'll show you the API key where you get that from. But you give it, let's say, 5 forms. You train it, and then it will be able to recognize that form. It will be able to read it successfully. So this tool needs or expects a form recognizer service to be set up for it to be working. So let's go to the Azure portal and set up a form recognizer service. I'll go to applied AI. As you could see now, there are 6 in the category. I would expect more to come. Those are again the task specific, so out of the box, ready for business use cases. Form Recognizer is here. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new service here. I have already a resource group. Put it US2, for example. Call it pricing tier here. Like you have a free tier, which, as you could see, 500 pages per month, 20 calls per minute, and you have the standard tier. The training, when I told you, like here, you could go and train the model for custom forms. The training, if you want that service, you would need to be on the standard tier. So I'd go with the standard tier. Let's go quickly through the tabs. You could integrate it with your own VNet or enable private endpoint. Interesting there is an assigned identity already, assigned managed identity. So think key vault integration, and then the good old tags. I'd go ahead and create it. Shouldn't take long. Give it a second. Okay. We'll come back to cover some of if there's anything interesting here. For now, let's just continue the demo. I want to make sure I cover it all. The endpoint which you would need for the tool or for the code, this is the endpoint. You could also get it from the keys and endpoint. I'll copy it from here. We'll go to the tool, the endpoint here, and we'll need the key. And now I could browse for a receipt uploaded. I have a receipt here. Let me show you the receipt. This is my receipt. And let's run the analysis. So as you could see, if we go here, for example, to the vendor address, you see it pulled the address successfully. More importantly, the items, if we see here, like invoice, the total is $4. That's correct. The date is also extracted correctly. So vendor name, store number. This is like it's a predefined model for US receipts, so it's pretty accurate. You could I uploaded more than one and try to play around with it. It's pretty accurate. So now let me show you how you would do the same, but from code, which more likely you would use to integrate with other systems. So I still need the endpoint and the API key. I'll go again to the portal, get these. I'll delete that, don't worry about it. All right, I have my receipt, same receipt that you have seen. Let me run it really quick, then we could check the code quickly. So I'm extracting here the merchant name, as you could see, transaction date, and the items that were purchased and their total. You could see, like, imagine the scenarios here, like uploading receipts to a system, and now you could just upload the images and have the important data extracted to your ARP or run analysis on top of them. That's like pretty typical use case that this out of the box provides a solution for. Let's previously mentioned, like if you work with the code, always pay attention to how things are like written in code, because you would imagine, now we are talking only about form recognizer, but if you notice the way, or if you could abstract the way the code deals with these services, and from that expect how you would write the code for other AI services, because it's pretty consistent across the board. So let me just show you. Let's run it in the debugger. Actually, if those hurting your eye, they do. you could turn them into var. The entire code, by the way, I put the URL for to the entire code. But this is really the magic is all happening here. Start, recognize, receipt, async. So, and you could recognize here probably the long running operation pattern here in C#. So previously, what cognitive services used to do, instead of start, recognize, and then wait for the completion, it used to be like recognize, receipt, async, and you pass right away the receipt URL. But here we have this based on operations, because the notice was that if on the old way of doing things, if you submit a long receipt, or let's say a book full of receipts, then that operation takes long, is not a good practice to wait on that. So this is a new, like, really nice way. You run start, recognize the receipt, and let's say it takes 2 hours. This wait for completion keeps pulling the server until with the operation ID until the operation completes and gives you back the results. So with that, you could really, like, you could run, I don't know, you could run pages and pages without being impeded by waiting on one request to be completed. I hope this point is clear. If not, it's not like critical for you to understand it. It's I think this is a very neat way of calling the service. Go ahead and run it. And by the way, if you are calling the APIs, you would still need that operation ID, because that's how you, when you pull the server to know if the operation completed, you would need the operation result. So here, let's start recognize the service. We just submitted the receipt, and then this operation has this ID in it, and then wait for completion. This method here depends on the ID to ask the server, is the operation with this ID, did it complete yet? Did it complete yet? Did it complete yet? When it completes, then it comes back with the results. So afterwards, yeah, it came back with the results here. I need to execute that. It came back with, I submitted one receipt, so it found that it has 9 fields, and now from here it's just good old C#. I'm just reading these fields and looping through them to display them. So just merchant name, transaction date, whatever is on your receipt items. I think that it cannot get cleaner than this for an OCR to, you're literally here like strongly typing these items as if they are already in JSON format. I think this is really cool when I tried it. So I'm not gonna go bore you with the rest. I'll continue with, and this is what we have seen here. The code is on GitHub. You could pull that if you want to use it in production. Of course, please do not like hard code API keys. The place of this is Key Vault. You need to productionalize this. Let's say integrate it with your DevOps, and this is for just the demo purpose. I reduced it to its basics for us to focus on the form recognizer. Right. That's my demo. Back to, let's see, to now that we have time, if we go back to the service itself, again, like the keys, and while we are at it, let's regenerate the key since it was displayed there. Stick to good practices. What else? Pricing tier, we talked about it. Networking, we talked briefly about it. You could really integrate that with your network, make it accessible only from your VNet, let's say. Identity, we covered that. Let's look at the metrics. This where you could monitor your service, of course. Let's see, successful calls, maybe something, yeah. Some, of course, here you can see a jump that when we use the service, there are 10 calls, 15 calls, or yeah. But you got the point. I didn't run it enough to show nice metrics, but you could monitor your service here in the metrics. All right. Useful links here. I encourage you to check the documentation and also read more about the applied services. This is the tool and how to use it, the UI tool. It's pretty helpful, especially if you want to train a new, like a custom form that doesn't already have a model trained for it. Code samples, really useful. The code I took is one of those code samples, and also like the code that I showed you in GitHub repository. That's it for today. Now I realized I moved really quickly through the slides. I wanted to do that. That was the intent, but if I knew that we remain with time, I would have expanded a little on some of more of the theory. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Otherwise, we could end the call earlier. Give you back time back. Any questions?
It's all good. Thank you.
Sure. See if there is anything in the chat. All right, guys. So don't see anything. So thank you, guys. See you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, guys.